right. Welcome everybody to the Healing and Harmony book launch. Wow, this feels a little bit surreal right now. I just want to say first and foremost, thank you for being here. This book is about 5 or 6 years in the making, and I'm going to share a little bit more about that with you. But just to give you a rundown of what we're going to do tonight, I'm going to share a little bit about the origin story and how this all came to be. And then I have a couple of guests who have gotten to experience the work firsthand, and they're going to share a little bit of their story as well. I do have some giveaways for you guys. So everybody that's joining us tonight is going to get a free copy of my Horse and Human Blueprint PDF. And then everybody that fills out my contact form is going to be put in a drawing for a free one-on-one coaching session with me, just because I'm so appreciative of you all being here. At the end, I will open it up for Q&A, and I'm also going to do just a brief reading of a short excerpt of the book. So without further ado, we will go ahead and get started. And I'm going to share the origin story. So it's been about 6 years now. One of my clients called me, my horse training clients, and she was having a really hard time with one of her horses. She had sent it away for 90 days professional training, and the horse came back, and it was basically trying to attack her. It was trying to attack her other horse, whom she called her heart horse. And she said, "Can you come help? I'm just at my wit's end. I don't know what to do." And I said, "Well, I'm not coming to do the work on your horse. If if I come, if I come to see you, we're gonna do the work on you." And she said, "Well, that's why I called you." And I said, "Okay, well, as long as you're aware of how that's gonna go."
Just an invitation, what the
And
same email that I send every year, just adapting it to this year's group.
gotta mute somebody.
So
Okay, there we go. Um, So I went down and she started explaining how this horse was attacking her. It was attacking her heart horse. And she was kind of giving me a rundown of what was happening with the horse. And so I asked her, and this wasn't an uncommon question, it's something I ask frequently when I'm working with horses and humans. But I said, where in your life does this feel true as well? And she immediately burst into tears and she said, "Oh my gosh, my sisters and my mom are attacking me. They're verbally attacking me, and it's this whole thing." And I said, "Okay, well, I could see that the behavior in the horse was reflecting the behavior, the things that were happening in my client's life. That's not uncommon. I'm sure anybody in the equine space has experienced a little bit of this reflective work. So it was pretty standard. But what happened when we got into the arena was actually quite unique. So we bring the horse into the arena, and the horse starts doing this movement where it's biting its side, biting its side, biting its side. And it was a pattern. And it was definitely not something normal unless a horse was colicking, but she didn't have any other symptoms of colic. So I said, "Okay, we're just going to stick to working through your challenge." And so I was facilitating her in the challenge with her family. And as she was kind of describing and going through what was happening, the horse was basically expressing all of these repressed emotions right next to her in the arena. We got to a point where she had an awareness, a breakthrough, I would say. And when she had the shift, the horse came over and immediately put her lips on the horse, put the horse's lips on the back of her neck, and which I later learned is our spiritual portal, and stopped doing the weird biting the side behavior. So we put the horse back out with her other horse, and it went and shared hay for the first time with her heart horse. And there was definitely a shift, but I knew that there was more that needed to be addressed. So I said, "Okay, this is good for today. We've gone as far as we're going to go. I'm going to come back in a week." And I went home and I just got this like, I just kept replaying this scene with the horse biting its side. And I got this intuitive nudge to go and look at my meridian charts. And where I identified that place on the horse's body is the spleen meridian. And I looked up the emotional components of the spleen meridian, and it was verbatim words that my client was using, like self-worth, um, you know, uh, lack of safety, just basically everything associated with the spleen meridian. And she had used the specific words that I saw. So I knew there was something to this, but I initially kind of thought I was losing my mind. So I called her. I said, I think I'm crazy, but here's what I observed and here's what I found. And so my friend was like so encouraging. She was like, "Oh my gosh, that is spot on." And so I went back the next week, and what I had done is I had mapped out the body parts of the horse, and I had put like a meridian point and um, just kind of looked up from like TCM or like Eastern medicine what each body part represents. And so I facilitated her again, and we got a full, we call it a collapse or a full integration on the situation with the family. Um, oh, let me back up. We pulled the horse out again. It hadn't bit its side all week. We pull it back into the arena. It immediately starts biting its side again. So we got the full integration. My client had a full somatic release on the floor of the arena, and the horse never did it again. And she had had the horse up for sale for a couple of months, and um, nobody, she got no calls or anything, and no showed no interest. No one showed any interest in the horse. And so 3 days after we had this full integration, a girl from, I think like South Carolina called and came up to see her and fell in love, and they were like a perfect fit, but all the behavior had stopped. And so I said, I think that horse wasn't getting sold because it really had a message for you, um, that was life changing. And she said, I don't disagree with that, but I think that the horse didn't sell because she had a message for you, Amanda. And I really hope that you continue to explore whatever it is that happened here. And so I did. Still, and I like to say, uh, since 6 years ago, since this session, I've really set out to disprove it because I always try to have a healthy level of skepticism in everything I do. And I don't think that anybody should blindly follow anything. But in 6 years, not only have I not been able to disprove this, but every session I've been able to do in this entire time has shown up with extreme accuracy. So that was kind of my first awareness, and it escalated kind of simultaneously. I was really getting into like The Body Keeps the Score and You Can Heal Your Life by Louise Hay and Yaman Romero's Knowing Ourselves, where every um, every disease and every injury, it all has a spiritual component to it. And so that's something that we had been heavily incorporating into our healing intensives. And I had really been looking up, you stub your toe and you go look up the spiritual meaning. It was kind of like a running joke, but then you go look it up and it's always accurate. So there were two worlds that had not yet collided. And then one day I went outside, and my miniature horse, Patriot, he has dwarfism and he's about 80 pounds and he's the coolest little dude you'd ever want to meet. He couldn't stand up. And something was wrong with his body, his legs. I didn't know. We rushed him up to Michigan, and it was during COVID, and they took him back and they had him for a couple of hours, and they brought him back out and they said, well, he's got a Chiari malformation, so his C1 is malformed. He's got compression in C6 and C7 in his spine, and he needs to have spine surgery. It's called the basket surgery that they do for like wobblers syndrome. And I said, well, that's certainly not an option. I'm not going to put this poor little miniature horse through spine surgery. But something in my heart just kept saying, look at his feet, look at his feet. And they wouldn't look at his feet. They're like, we're not going to waste your time or money looking at his feet. It's his spine. This is it. So I made an appointment with my local vet to euthanize him on Monday. This was Friday. And I gave him some Banamine through the weekend because I was like, well, if he's going to heaven on Monday, I might as well keep him comfortable through the weekend. So I gave him the Banamine, and the next morning he was up and perky. And I just knew immediately if this was neurological, they said he was a 4 out of 5 on the neurological scale. Banamine wouldn't have touched that. So it was an inflammation issue. So I had the vet out on Monday and I said, you know what? We're not putting him down, x-ray his legs and his feet. I need to see the whole picture. And the x-rays came back and his coffin bone was at a 90-degree angle in his little hoof. And I ended up calling my mentor and I sent her the x-rays. And the first thing she said to me is, Amanda, it looks like your horse is tiptoeing, walking around on his tiptoes. And I said, yeah, it does. That's so weird. And she said to me, well, where are you tiptoeing in your life? And I just lost it. I was a puddle on the floor because I had been tiptoeing everywhere. I had been tiptoeing around my family, and we run a nonprofit, so I'm tiptoeing around the donors and then the volunteers because if everybody's not happy, then they leave. And I needed all these people to be able to run this uh, charity. And if I didn't have everyone's cooperation, I was afraid they were all going to leave. And so I really lacked boundaries and I was really just subordinating to everyone around me. And I just, like, in that moment, I was just in shock. I was in disbelief. I couldn't believe it. But like, I had this innate knowing of, yes, this horse is reflecting what I've been doing. And I really was not, like, I was pretty okay with self-sacrificing at that point. I didn't have high aspirations of changing anything for myself because I'm like, I'm strong. I can take it. I can take it. But the moment that I realized it had spilled over into Patriot, I made an immediate change. And that was the turning point for me. And that was the first time in my life, really, that I started to have boundaries for myself. And so that was the catalyst. And, you know, he didn't just magically get better the next day. It was a process. But right after I had that awareness, I was introduced to an equine podiatrist, a specialist who had created special shoes for foals with contracted tendons. And so we ended up using these shoes, and he just started getting better and better and better, and eventually made a full recovery. But I got better too. And there was one day about a year later that we did have a backslide. But I had already had an awareness of this now. So I had started kind of looking more into the quantum field and the morphic field and how our animals can absorb what's going on with us. And so I was just really getting into my research at the time. And I started having friends come up and they were also experiencing things. And I was kind of using my charts and things to point this out to them. And I got this intuitive nudge to start the Equine Wisdom Institute, and I had every excuse in the world not to do it. I was busy, I didn't have time, I didn't have bandwidth, I didn't have money, so on and so forth. So I went back out one morning to the horses, and Patriot had completely lost the use of his front right leg. And we didn't know like what caused it. There was like he was not turned out with any other horses, so it couldn't have been an injury like that. I called the vet out, and the vet says, oh, it's like a pinched nerve. And I see this commonly in draft horses, and they don't ever recover. I've never seen a horse recover from this. But I had this new tool in my toolbox. And so I was able to look at the body parts and okay, the right side is the masculine energy. That's the energy of doing. The front feet can reflect the future. And then I looked at the action or the inaction of the horse and what was he doing? He was dragging. So I'm like, okay, what am I dragging my foot on? That's part of my future that is in the energy of doing. And I knew right away that I wasn't, it was the Equine Wisdom Institute. So I immediately went in the house, I got on the laptop, and I signed up for my LLC and I paid the $150 fee to the state. And 3 days later, without any treatment or anything, doing anything differently, Patriot regained full use of his leg. And and every time my vet comes out to this day, he just looks at Patriot and he shakes his head and he says, "You shouldn't be able to walk." So, but he is able to walk and it's pretty amazing. So that really started everything. And the more awareness I had and the more research I did, and every friend or colleague that came to me with a problem with their horse, I started to look it up. And, there hasn't been one instance yet where it hasn't been true. So I have quite a lot of case studies at this point. And then I really just started to do my research, and I used books like You Can Heal Your Life and Knowing Yourself. And I went through the 65 most common equine illnesses or injuries, and I've identified a spiritual root. And then I've created a facilitative question to go along with that for the person to reflect on where they can get healing. And then I've also got some questions you can ask to better support the horses as well. We also use a lot of Chinese herbs and essential oils here. So I also did research and I looked up what the best herb and what the best essential oil is to be able to help the horse integrate or shift through whatever it is that they're going through. So in the book is a breakdown of all the different body parts of the horse and what the spiritual reflection is according to Eastern medicine, and then the 65 most common illnesses or injuries. And I I know that the human books have been revolutionary in healing for people, and so I really do hope that this book revolutionizes healing for horses, because we all know we're in a time now where there is a shift. There's a big shift. People are really starting to, I don't want to say start to honor, because I think that a long time ago, I don't feel like I'm discovering new things. I just feel like I'm uncovering truths that used to be common sense in the relationship between man and animal. But I think it's coming back around full circle, and I think it's needed now more than ever. So the research has been just with immediate friends and colleagues and family, but my hope is that with the book being out there, that I can add to my research and that you all can look at what's going on in your life with your horses and your friends and their horses, and hopefully this can create a lot of positive change um, for both us and our horses. So very exciting and still a bit surreal. But so I have Katie on the call now, and so I asked Katie if she would share a little bit about her healing journey and how that showed up through her horse Gracie. So Katie, thanks so much for being on the call tonight. I'm
You're
gonna
welcome. I wouldn't miss it.
I'm gonna give you the floor.
Yay. Hi, everybody. I'm Katie. I'm Amanda's other half. We're each other's polarity. Um, I got my horse Gracie from Amanda, actually. In what year did we get them?
9,
2012?
10.
9? We got them 10. That's right. She's 15 this year.
Yep.
Um, I got her as a baby. I was going through my divorce at the time from my first husband, and she first taught me about how your energy shows up to somebody. So when she was in her stall, if I walked up to her with the wrong energy, she'd put her nose in the corner and not come out until I had chilled out. So that was my first introduction. Um, but in 2021, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. Um, and did all the work on myself. And in the midst of that, we moved, and she moved back to Amanda's. And within 2 weeks of us moving back, um, she developed abscesses in both of her left feet, front and back at the same time. Which, if you're a horse person, you're like, why did she have abscesses in both lefts at the same time? So we got the book out. We did the work. Front is future, hind is past, left side is social, physical, family. And it directly correlated to my breast cancer. And anytime she's had an abscess that's popped up, an abscess is where you're holding on to something, right? It's holding on, correct?
Yeah, I'm actually gonna I'm gonna read the specific. I'm scrolling
Okay.
through and I'm gonna read that, but keep
Yeah.
talking.
Yeah. So whenever she got an abscess, it was me holding on to something. Um, and the last time she got one, we pinpointed it right away. I went in and I asked myself the facilitative questions, worked myself through it, and within about 3 days, the abscess would pop. Um, and of course, hers always work out the top, because she's special. They never come out the bottom with Gracie.
Yeah,
She never does anything easy. Um,
I'm gonna read
Go
both
ahead.
on here. So I'm gonna read also the reading for hooves. So it says, the hooves or feet are a critical foundation for grounding, symbolizing stability, security, and connection to the earth. They play a vital role in physical movement and maintaining balance, reflecting the ability to move confidently towards the future. For both horses and humans, issues with the hooves or feet signify fears about the future, lack of grounding, or insecurity. So after the big move, I know there was a lot of and
Yeah, I
your treatment was
Yeah, I was going through, like, I had been a teacher, so I completely stopped being a teacher and became a stay-at-home mom, which is a complete shift from where I had been before. And my environment was telling me, don't be a stay-at-home mom. And I'm like, I can do this. Well, my horse reminded me that that's not where I meant to be. Um, and even the most recent one, there was one last summer that was very similar. Um, I had a direction that I could go, and oh, I see beanie ears. Sorry, got
oh yeah,
distracted.
she Beans is hanging out with me. She
All
didn't
I
want
could see is
to
a little
go.
ear sticking up. And then what was abscess? I forget what
Yeah.
abscess was.
So I just want to read the rest of the
Oh, okay.
sheet really quick. So emotional root, fear of the future, lack of grounding, and insecurity. The hooves represent security and the connection to personal stability. When there's discomfort or imbalance in the hooves, it often reflects fears of what lies ahead, insecurities about one's foundation, or difficulty feeling grounded. In horses, hoof problems manifest as tenderness, reluctance to move on hard surfaces, or a general sense of instability. For humans, issues with the feet symbolize fear of progressing forward, a lack of connection to one's base support. So, questions: what fears about the future are affecting me, and how can I feel more grounded and secure? Reflect on anxieties about the future and in areas where you feel unsteady. Engage in grounding practices like walking barefoot, deep breathing, or working with nature to help establish a stronger sense of security and connection to the present moment. For your horse, how can I help my horse feel more grounded or secure? Observe your horse's hooves for signs of tenderness, imbalance, and reluctance to move. Ensure proper footing and incorporate groundwork that encourages confidence and a sense of stability. The hooves are closely linked to the root chakra, which governs grounding, connection to earth, and stability. So that is the hoof. And then abscess is right here. Oh, hold on. Okay, keep talking.
Oh,
I'm
okay. So with the grounding part, I started doing more grounding exercises for myself to ground myself before I even went in to see her. Um, I used to do that as a practice all the time before I went in with the horses, was to ground myself before I went in with them so that maybe my shit wouldn't go in with them. So I started doing that again. and just doing ground exercises with her hoof problems. Well, between my cancer diagnosis and then hoof problems and then other things, I haven't ridden her in a long time. So she was really confused. So we started doing a lot of groundwork, um, doing the spiral that Amanda does. I actually ground
There's
her
also
over
in
for
the
the
book.
first time.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I did that. Which has been huge for her because when she would get upset, like Gracie's one where she just when she freaks out, it's big, but it doesn't last very long. She's like, "Oh my gosh, okay, I'm fine. I overreacted." Um, so,
I've got hoof abscess now. It was
okay,
under hoof abscess. I just went to A and I was like, did I not put, I knew I put abscess in here, just, but it's under hoof. Okay. Hoof abscesses are infections within the hoof, typically caused by bacteria entering through cracks or injuries. These infections lead to severe pain, swelling, and lameness as abscess puts pressure on the sensitive structure within the hoof. The condition is similar to an ingrown nail or abscess in humans. So I also put the human correlation in here too, because I am always curious to see if not if, but how the physical symptoms show up in the human's body prior to it showing up in the horse's body. So, emotional root hoof abscess may symbolize repressed anger or unresolved issues that need to come to the surface. Just as an infection must be drained to heal, these underlying emotional tensions need to be acknowledged and released. Holistic healing. Reflect on unmet expectations and ask yourself, what am I not allowing myself to express? Focus on working through expressing anger in healthy ways. For horses, provide proper hoof care, clean environment, and allow space for healing both physically and emotionally. The facilitative questions. What unmet expectations are causing me frustration, and how can I express and process my anger in a healthier way? Are there unresolved, and for helping the horse, are there unresolved issues in my horse's care or routine that could be contributing to stress? And how can I improve their overall well-being? The oil is tea tree. It has antibacterial properties, making it effective for treating infections, and can be diluted and applied to the hoof to fight infection and support healing. And then the Chinese herb is dandelion, which is known for its ability to clear heat and toxins, supporting the body's ability to fight infection and promote drainage. So
so
that,
when she had the one in the most recent one that was, I think about a year ago, um, it was a future one because I had some struggle with a person, thinking about what our future would be. So after knowing this, um, I made an Epsom salt pack for her feet that had tea tree oil in it. So it helped to pull, like I would pack it in her foot. Um, it had something else in it. It had the salt and the oil and something else. Oh, I think I put betadine because it's antibacterial as well. Packed that in her feet, wrapped it in a diaper, made the boot out of duct tape. Um, and after I did that for 2 days, um, they popped, or it popped, and she hasn't had one since. Um, Her most recent health thing has been she has EMS, equine metabolic syndrome, which is like diabetes in horses. So I got to look up that fun route for myself too. Um, and we finally like have gotten things under control. Well, are you looking up that one?
yeah.
Okay, so what this past week, um, a dear friend of ours, Tracy, trims Gracie and then trims Kyra and Marley, and she also does osteopathy. So when she came out, I asked her to check hormone levels in Gracie because it's so crazy. Since my cancer treatment, I had my ovaries removed, so I have no estrogen. So my hormones are like crazy. So Gracie's hormones are crazy. So Tracy checked them, and she has this great communication thing she can do with the horses. She'll like get this little um like thought of what they want to say, and it's complete. Like Gracie wasn't letting go of a spot where they had a hormone blockage, and she goes, I'm not worried about it, why are you? And if you know me, that's that's my thought. Well, I'm not worried about it, why are
Well,
you?
you're
I
gonna
just
love
think
this then.
okay, yay,
Okay.
yay. I forget what it is, but it's pretty spot on.
Equine metabolic syndrome can symbolize a lack of sweetness in life, where the sweetness of joy, pleasure, or positive experiences is missing. This can be linked to self-neglect, where emotional neglect manifests physically as a metabolic disorder. Additionally, deep-seated resentment or unprocessed trauma may contribute to the development of EMS as the body holds on to past mistreatment or unmet needs.
Dang,
So,
dang.
yeah. Okay, Jerry said, so is munching on live dandelion plants helpful as the oil? So in the book, it's herb, dried dandelion. And the one thing I did put in here because I am not a practitioner of Chinese herbs, is to always consult with an herbalist. And I know Rachel in our school group is very well versed in that. So that would be a great question for Rachel. So maybe we can talk about it on Tuesday. Awesome. Thank you so much, Katie.
You're
And
welcome.
no, Diana was also going to join us and share a little bit. Diana was actually one of my very first, I don't know what you'd experiments, test subjects. So let me just see. She had to take her daughter. So Diana, are you with us?
I know that the link on the event is different than the link that was in the discussion, so she might have had trouble.
In the discussion.
So in the Facebook event, if you go to the main thing and it says go to the link, it's different than the one in the discussion threads.
Oh, I see. Okay. Maybe I just need to shoot her over this link just to be sure. Um, so I can do that real quick. But yeah, so thank you. Thank you for sharing that. And it's just one of those things where uh people would kind of find out about what I was doing and then they would call and be like, "Oh," or sometimes they didn't know what I was doing, but they would call and be like, "Oh yeah, I've got this going on with my horse." And I'd be like, "Well, how open-minded are you?" And it is yet to be wrong. Or, people are yet to find some truth in it. So, uh, I'm just gonna send this over to Diana really quick to make sure. Uh, well, while we're waiting, I would love to open the floor for questions. Does anyone have any questions or comments for the group or about the book?
We have a question, Amanda. Hey, Amanda, does this correlate at all with the Carolyn May's work, Anatomy of the Spirit
I
by Carolyn Mays?
that's not one that I have read. Don't.
Okay.
Uh,
It sounds like I mean her focus is on humans and the emotional correlates
oh
with the
yeah,
disease.
somebody was telling me about her, and I did look her up, but I already had so much of it done that yeah, my friend Tammy, I just looked her up really quick, was asking me. So, are you familiar with Louise Hay?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So I used her book. And then Jaman, the main book that I use, which is very comprehensive, is Yaman Romero, Knowing Ourselves. Have you heard of that one?
Okay.
It's
No, I gotta write
it
that
is
down.
extremely comprehensive, and is based on human illnesses.
Amanda, how do you spell Yaman is?
Joman.
Thank you.
Yep,
Romero?
yep.
Thank you.
And his book, I just got the Kindle version of it because it's kind of a beast. But what's really cool about the Kindle version is it has like hyperlinks. So you just can either search or go to whatever it is and it takes you right to so you don't have to
The
flip through
source.
all the pages. So Sue says, how does one get the book? So if you look at the very top of the chat, I have the Kindle version available immediately for download. The link is right there. And I think for those of you that joined the call a little bit later, I was sharing that the paper version is unfortunately still being held up for formatting reasons that I have not been able to totally figure out, but I submitted it a couple days ago and it seems to have gone through. So I'm hoping in the next 24 hours the paperback version will be available. And but right now, if you don't want to wait, you can get the Kindle version from the link at the top of the chat in here. And then if you would like to wait and get the paper version, there is a link in this chat below that. It says get on the list to be notified when the print version is available. So if you click that link and put your name and email in, I will notify you. Also, anybody that's on the call tonight that would like the PDF version of the Horse and Human Blueprint, which I'll talk a little bit about if we have time, then you can just put your name and email in there, or if you want any other updates. I'm like already working on version 2. The rewrite of this because I'm also getting into sound frequencies now. And so in version 2.0, I'm going to add in sound frequencies as well. So that's the problem is it's always like ever evolving. So Lynn's, have you discovered this applies with other animals? Actually, yes. I'm one of the conclusions that I came to, and I did write the book specifically for horses because that's my niche, but as we go deeper down this rabbit hole, you know, I've really found personally, my personal belief is that I think that our environment is everything in our environment is constantly giving us feedback. And, you know, if we go into like the quantum viewpoint, we're all just waves and particles and we're all connected. And so, yes, I absolutely do believe. And I do believe that wholeheartedly. And I did have an experience that I had actually forgotten about. And I just happened to be talking about it the other day. But it was after my dad passed away and things were very heavy for me, my dog got really sick and I took her to the vet and the vet did an x-ray of her stomach and he said she had a tumor in her stomach. And I wasn't into any of this work now, but I had a friend that was very spiritual. Actually, Clea knows him, Scott. He does crystalline consciousness technique, but I called him and I was like, oh my gosh, can you do a CCT session on my dog? She has a tumor. And he said, yes, but I want you, like, she's taking on your stuff. And he gave me this thing to say to her, like, you know, basically, thank you for taking this on. I don't need you to do this for me anymore. And 3 days later, I took her back in for surgery and he called me and he was like, I have her open on the operating table and there's no tumor. I can't find anything in her. But I mean, we both saw the x-ray. He's like, this has never happened to me. I've been a vet for like 30 years, whatever. So yeah, I absolutely do. And let's see. Oh, you can't see the links. Okay, let me repost them. Hold on. I'm wondering, I put these in before everyone joined, so this is the one for the book. And this is the one to, hold on. Hold on, I'm direct replying. How do okay, meeting, here's the group chat. Okay. This one is to get on the link and this one is, okay, hold on. Please excuse my technology challenges. All right, here's the link to purchase the book. Okay. Oh, hi, Dorley. She says, what is CCT? So CCT stands for Crystalline Consciousness Technique. And so I call it like Reiki on steroids. it's different from Reiki because you're not channeling energy through your body, but you're actually pulling energy from the energy grids. So there's a crystalline energy grid in the planet, and there's a crystalline energy grid in the universe. And you call in different energies that pull from those grids. And Clea is actually a practitioner and I believe a trainer. She's on this call as well, and she's in our school group. I'm a student of the work. I am not a facilitator. But it was created by Gia Combs Ramirez, and it's just absolutely amazing. We use it very frequently. I use it on the horses and in our healing intensive work as well. So if you want to learn more, get a hold of Clea. So, okay, great. Oh, hi, Andrea. Perfect. And let's see. Diana, are you with us yet? I know she didn't have the right link. Oh, she was getting an error. Yeah, okay. I sent her the link, but it doesn't look like she has opened it yet. Great. Yes, if you have not, I don't know, Clea, if you have a link to your website or if you want to post something in our school group, but if you have not experienced CCT, I highly, highly recommend it. It's such an amazing practice. So, awesome. Well, does anyone have any other questions or thoughts? I can, yeah, Katie says 1,000,000,000% CCT is amazing. We use it on the veterans, and man, it is profound.
I can say, like with our horses that are at the farm, when they're around a certain volunteer, sometimes the horses will take on the things for the volunteer.
Yes, we have had that in the past. Sometimes our volunteers get really emotionally connected to the horses, and we've seen some physical things show up in the horses. And, I always ask if people, I'm not in the business of giving unsolicited advice, but there's been times where I've asked the volunteers, like, hey, does anything about this resonate for you? And again, they've been like dead on, absolutely. So, it is definitely the deeper down the rabbit hole you go into string theory and quantum entanglement. And Rupert Sheldrake does a really cool piece on the morphogenic field. It, there really is no separation. And everything in your immediate environment is giving you feedback all the time, everything inside your body, everything outside your body. So I feel like having this awareness really can help us. I like to say move from feeling like a victim of your history to a master of your destiny, because instead of things happening to you, and I don't necessarily like the toxic positivity of like, oh, everything happens for a reason and find the silver lining. Like, I don't feel like that's always helpful. So I don't want it to seem like that's what we're saying here, but it's information. It's information for you to look at and consider and sit with and take action with if you choose, so that you don't just have to feel like all this stuff is happening to you. And when you realize how much your environment is talking to you and you learn how to interpret that information, it just helps you really move into your authenticity and really be able to create a empowered life. And you don't have to live in fear anymore. You can really switch over to that empowerment and that resiliency. So, and it looks like Melissa jumped on. I just want to give a special thank you to Melissa. She edited this book for me a whole bunch of times. So, super grateful. She's a pro at picking out copy issues. So she really helped tremendously there, because I am not the greatest speller or grammar person. Okay, Clea said, I have a question that might be easier to ask via text. Yeah, absolutely. Feel free.
Can I ask out loud?
Oh, yeah. Okay, yes.
I think your explanation might have just answered it. So basically, the book is for anyone to help them with horses and the interactions and taking in information, not necessarily someone who is in the position of facilitating. But as a facilitator, you can use it as a guide to help people help themselves also. Is that right?
Absolutely. That is the perfect explanation. So yes, this and this is kind of like the base of my pyramid of putting my work out into the world. So yes, so anyone can buy this book and anyone can use it. And the next level from this book is actually a set of what I call the equine communication charts. And the equine communication charts are more specific actions and inactions that the horses do that help you interpret a conversation. And that has been turned into a facilitation model that I'm offering for practitioners to use in their practice, or for horse people to use with themselves as well. But this is kind of like the entry level. And so I figured this will either qualify people. People are going to read this book and they're going to either be like, oh my gosh, this is awesome, I want more, or going to be like, oh my gosh, this chick is crazy. And then, just we'll pair those people off and will help us stay super focused on the journey.
Cool.
But yeah, so I would say the next step after this for people that do love the book and they want to learn more about how they can implement this work and learn more about kind of creating that healthy connection with their horse. I have an online course called The Horse Human Blueprint, and it really goes into depth. The book is kind of like the what, and the course is kind of the what to do about it. And I have also that course I'm offering through my school group. And what I've done for the whole month of June is I've offered it for an extra $20 off. So it's normally $47, but I'm offering it for the whole month of June for $27 because I really want this work to get out. And I'll actually post that also in the link if anyone is interested in that. But let me see.
No.
There's the link for that. And I also have a school group. So if you're not already in the school group, which I think a lot of you are, and you would like to join, it's an amazing community where we talk about all this stuff in depth and anyone can ask questions. And we do a call every Tuesday at 9 a.m. Eastern time where we just talk about whatever comes to mind, and we go down some really cool rabbit holes. We never know what we're going to talk about from one week to the next, but it's all centered around this. And Dorley, I hope you don't mind me sharing Dorley's on the call. And yes, I am referring to the blueprint, the modules in the school group. But Dorley was on one of the classes, the last class that we did, and she asked a question that I just thought was so great. Hopefully you don't mind me sharing, but we were going over a lot of internal stuff, and she was like, I feel like we're just doing work on the human right now, and this isn't necessarily directed at work on the horse. And I was just kind of like, yes, like I'm so glad that you asked that question, and I'm so glad that it's on the replay, because I think it's an important thing. It's like, I believe that the more work we do on ourselves and the more real that we get and the more in our body that we get, the more that our horses want to connect with us. And I was really hoping Diana would make it on, but I don't. I know her daughter is at gymnastics right now, so it doesn't look like she's looked at the link yet, but I'll just share a little bit on her behalf because we have a few minutes left here. But she called me because her mare put her back leg through the barn and cut I don't know if it was a tendon or a ligament or if it was superficial, but she was dragging the leg. And she called me because I have a MagnaWave machine, pulse electromagnetic therapy, and she just wanted to know if I thought MagnaWave would help. And I said, "Well, how open-minded are you?" And she was like, "I'll try anything at this point." And so the injury was back left, which can be family. Oh, the action was dragging. She was dragging the leg. And I said, "Well, what are you dragging with you from your past that has to do with your family?" And it was like kind of the same experience with me and Patriot. Like she knew immediately what I was, what it was, you know, and she was able to go and work through that with a therapist. And the horse made a full recovery. And she messaged me a few months later and she said, "You know, my horse is closer to me now. Like my horse is like magnetized to me. My horse is closer to me now than she was even before she had the injury." So there is I know a lot of people might not want to admit it or face it, or they just think that it's all weird woo-woo stuff. But the more that we look inside ourselves and the more that we're able to reflect, like that is what magnetizes our horses to us. They want that authenticity. They feel the vibration of it. And that's really what creates the draw. And sometimes real is messy, and sometimes real is painful, and sometimes it's not, and sometimes it's beautiful. But if we want our horses to feel safe, they want the most authentic version of us, no matter what that looks like. And so I really feel like this book can help you at least identify the direction to travel. And from there, hopefully, you can all start to uncover more of the authentic version of you. And what I would love is that anybody that does get the book and try it out for yourself, I would just love to hear your experience. I would love to hear if you know if you have any, if it resonates. I'd love to hear if it doesn't resonate. You know, I've been trying to disprove this for a long time, so any evidence of the contrary is just as accepted as validating energy. So let's see. Oh, Dorley said, "Your previous book has been helpful in providing excellent questions for journaling and self-reflection." Thank you. Yes, I did write a book in, oh my gosh, 2016 called what is it called? The Little Book of Questions for Massive Transformation. And it's more of a workbook. And yeah, one of my mentors, Dr. John Demartini, says the quality of your life is based on the questions you ask. So if you want a better life, ask better questions. So a lot of the facilitation work that I'm dedicated to is built around helping people ask better questions, because we all have our own answers. Sometimes it just takes a catalyst to help us get those answers out. So awesome. Do we have any final questions? Great. Well, thank you all so much for being here. I truly appreciate it. I'm sure you'll see lots of advertising now. So we'll definitely let everyone know when the hard copy is available. But again, thank you, and I hope you guys all have a wonderful evening.
Thanks, Amanda.
Bye.